Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. So today's video is going to be another book haul. Like I said, I wait for months, collect books one at a time, and then I do these collective book hauls. So these are some books that have been stacking up for the last few months, and let's just go through them. And I feel like a lot of these I've actually talked about in like TBRs and such, but we gotta go through them anyway because it's a book haul. This next book that I got in a Fairy Loot, I'm pretty sure I've hauled it before, but I can't remember, and that is An Arrow to the Moon by Emily X.R. Pan. This was just a little paperback that came in the Fairy Loot. I've already talked about all the BookBox books in those unboxings, and so I'm just gonna show them to you, but I'm not gonna talk about them, so there's this one. I did get the Owl Crate edition that I pre-ordered a while ago and kind of forgot about it, of The Book of Night by Holly Black. So this is the Owl Crate version. I've already talked about this book multiple times on my channel, so I don't think I need to do it again. But it's black. It's kind of like a stormy night sky. So it's like black and cloudy and silver, and on the back it's really pretty and silver, and it says, "Once upon a time, a boy was born with a hungry shadow." It's just got black sprayed edges. Same type of story with the end papers. I want to say mine was digitally signed, but that looks like it's signed, so I don't know. And the foiling on the hardcover says, "The universe belongs to the curious," which is cute. So that's this one. You can decide which of those I'm going to keep as well. Another adult Fairy Loot book I got was Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Gino Dawson. It looks like this. It's a crazy bright book. I don't have any colors like this on my shelf, so it'd be nice to have one. And again, I did an unboxing on this, so we'll just set this aside for now. A Bookish Box book that I got was Together We Burn by Isabel Ibanez, and this is also a really pretty book. It doesn't have sprayed edges. I think there was an issue with the printer and stuff, but the cover's a little bit different, which is cool. It came with this like overlay that I don't know what to do with. I showed this in my unboxing, but it's got some pretty foiling. And it's got dragons, so who can go wrong? Another adult Fairy Loot book I got was The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. And I love the purple. The purple's a moment. But again, not gonna get into this. The next book I got secondhand was The Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. It's like a little companion novel for the Grishaverse of little tales, and on the front it says Midnight Tales and Dangerous Magic. But it's got this really cute cover. And I actually got this one in particular. And it's got this really pretty foiling on the hardcover. And I actually got this one in particular because it is signed and it was $10, and I thought that was awesome. I've been kind of wanting to read this for a while, so I thought when I found it for $10 signed, I would go ahead and grab it. And these are basically kind of fairy tales, myth, folklore set in the Grishaverse, and they're all a set of short stories. And so I just thought it would be a really fun read when I'm feeling like Grishaversey. And on the back it actually says, "Love speaks in flowers, truth requires thorns." A collection of 6 lavishly illustrated stories. And it's got some cool illustrations, so this is fun. Okay, the next few books I bought is actually a series, and this is how many of them are out so far. And that is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. I read the first one recently for my Fantasy Romance Monthly TBR, and I thought it was really good. I was actually surprised how much I liked it, because even though it is fantasy, there's no magic. It's just kind of set in a fantasy world, and then has a lot of political intrigue and violence, and I really liked it. I was kind of surprised how much I liked it, and I saw the hardcovers and thought they were beautiful, so let me show you. They're like this soft touch, and they have the Bridge Kingdom on them. So the Bridge Kingdom is basically about this girl who is sent to marry the Bridge King and kill him or figure out a way to infiltrate the Bridge Kingdom, because they hold a lot of power over commerce and trading. Therefore, if you control it, you control the bridge, which everyone needs to pass through, and it's like impenetrable and you can't take it by force. So that's kind of all the political stuff, but this is the bridge itself, and it's so cool. I love it so much. And so there's this one. And then the second one, Trader Queen, which has a different part, and it's so cool. And the last one that's released so far that actually came out this year is The Inadequate Heir. And I believe this is setting a new storyline, because the other one, it's like kind of wrapped up in those 2 books, and then it's another one, but it's in the same world. And it looks like this. So beautiful. I love that they all have a different printing, and that when you line them up, it kind of like makes a scene. It's so cool. Also, this one's much chunkier. And the next one I got that I actually traded somebody one of my books for this is The River of Shadows by Karina Hale. This is actually the reverse side of the dust jacket because this is the bookish box edition and it is so beautiful. I love it. It's got these cool like red and black tied sprayed edges. It's really hard to see like this. And I love it. And then the actual dust jacket looks like this, which is the original one, except it's made red instead of blue. And it's got some foiling on it. And then it's got this like dead flying unicorn on it. I don't even know. In the spine. And on the back it says, "Heavy is the dead that wears the crown." And this book just sounded so cool, and so I really wanted this edition of it. On the little flap it says, "Fly away with me, little bird." And while I remember really thinking this sounded interesting, I can't remember a lot of the synopsis, but I know that it is Finnish mythology, and so it's kind of like if Hades drug you into the underworld, but it's Finnish and like Norse mythology instead of Greek mythology. And the main character in this book goes to the realm of the dead to help save her father. She goes to face the god of the dead. But in order to get there, she has to cross the River of Shadows, which is full of monstrous creatures and a perilous journey, only to be kidnapped by the god of dead. And this is also fantasy romance, but it just sounds so unique and cool and interesting, and I can't wait to read it. And I've already unboxed this one as well, but I also have the Fairy Loot edition of The Book of Night by Holly Black. I like that it's black on black on black. And it has a really cool printing on the hardcover. Another book I got used because I just thought the anniversary edition was so pretty was the blue version of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is one of the one-year collector's editions, and it was very cheap, and I got it because I really like the naked hardcover. The end papers, and it was cheap, and so I thought I'd go ahead and get it because I have one US edition and one UK edition. I also got this set of books, which I do not have to talk about probably at all, because if you're on this channel, I've talked about these books way too much, and that is the Caraval trilogy by Stephanie Garber. As you can see behind me, I have like a Caraval collection that I've been working on, and I just every so often will buy them or buy something in the Caraval world. And I don't have any paperbacks of the books, and I wasn't sure if I was going to collect any of the paperbacks of the books, but I saw the UK editions that are really cute, and so I went ahead and got them. They were sold as a set for a really good price. So we have Caraval, which looks like this, and I just like how the spines are very carnival feeling. The second one is Legendary, which looks like this. Also has a fun spine. And the third is Finale. And this fun spine. So I really like the spines all together, and I'm glad I have another copy of this. The next ones I got at a local used book sale, and it's like this huge book sale that comes into town once a year, and apparently it's a pretty big deal. I didn't know that. I grabbed a couple of books while I was there. Nothing too exciting, but just things that I've been curious about reading. The first one that I've really wanted to read for a while is Legend by Marie Lu. All I know about this is it's kind of a dystopian military type fantasy and sinister elements of like the military academy and stuff. I don't really know, but it sounds good. I know people have really enjoyed this, and I would like to give it a shot as well. And I also found Prodigy, which is the second book at the book sale, and so I went ahead and grabbed that as well. Another one that I found for like $3, and that's why I bought it, because I was like, this is cool probably, is The Children of Húrin by J.R.R. Tolkien. And it's just a cool book. And it's Tolkien. I just got it. $3. And this is just one of the tales of Middle Earth, like well before the Lord of the Rings, and so I just thought it was cool to have. And when John and I were at the book sale, he thought he would really like it, so we just went ahead and got it. This one that I got that I know I really like, because I had listened to it on audiobook and wanted to get a hard copy of it and just hadn't had the chance yet, is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. And I really like this edition because I like the black and red, and the naked hardcover is absolutely beautiful. And this is a fairy tale retelling, and it is telling the story of the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, and it was a great story. It was a little heartbreaking, but it was absolutely wonderful, and I really like this author, so I'm glad to have another one of her works. The next one I got was a Star Wars story, Kenobi, by John Jackson Miller. And again, this was at that big book sale, and so I just went ahead and got it. I could literally know nothing about any Star Wars book and probably pick it up, which is what happened to those, but it's just telling the story of Kenobi after the events of Revenge of the Sith. And on the back it says, "The Republic has fallen, Sith Lords rule the galaxy, Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi has lost everything but hope." So fun times. And another Star Wars book, I just thought this was so like classic and funny, and it is Star Wars Attack of the Clones book, episode 2, by R.A. Salvatore. Hi, buddy. Want to say hi to the... You're pulling my shirt down. Want to say hi to the people? Want to say hi to the people? Look. Thanks, buddy. A sweet little legend action for you. And I'm pretty sure it's just this movie that is novelized, but it's fun. And I love Anakin and Star Wars, and so I just thought it'd be a fun book to have. The next two that I grabbed, because some books, especially like adult fantasy books, even if it's like adult fantasy romance, they can be like the shortest books and they're still like 20 bucks or more because they're self-published or they're just not as well known and it's more of an indie publisher. And so I went ahead and got these used, and that is The Never King by Nikki St. Crow and The Dark One by Nikki St. Crow. I went ahead and got it because I knew I wanted to read the first one, and the sequel was on Pango Books also for a good price. So I went ahead and nabbed them both. They're both very short. I did end up reading this in my Reading a Month of Fantasy Romance and pretty much really hated it. But there are like some elements of the story that I'm still interested in finding out what happens, so I will do that with this one and hope it's better. And basically this is a dark romance Peter Pan retelling where they're all over 18 and they kidnap a darling every year for reasons. And Peter Pan is trying to get back his shadow. And the newest darling that they kidnap, they think will be able to help them get his shadow back. And Pan is kind of like a ruthless ruler, like mafia boss type situation. Like if he loses his temper, he kills somebody, which is fine. But it was much darker in a way that I don't like. So I wasn't a big fan of this. But hopefully I do like this one if the story continues in a way that I prefer more. The cover's pretty cool, and I believe there are supposed to be 3 books in the Vicious Lost Boys series. And the next one's coming out this year, so maybe I'll be able to finish this series even if it's traumatizing and horrible, and then I can move on with my life. The next one I've got, because again, I've heard nothing but good things about this. People rave about this book, and I'm just curious, okay? I just want to know, and that is Guild by Raven Kennedy. This is the first book in the Plated Prisoner series, and I want to know, okay? It's a fantasy romance, and it's a King Midas retelling, and I don't know how that works, because if you're gold, what does that mean? I don't know. So yeah, this is the first book in the Plated Prisoner series. I don't know a lot about it. On the back it says gold floors, gold walls, gold furniture, everything's gold. In King Midas's castle built at the top of the frozen mountains, everything is made of gold, even me. And on the bottom it says, the myth of King Midas reimagined shows the dark side of greed through the eyes of a woman he gold touched. This compelling adult fantasy series is as addictive as it is unexpected. With romance, intrigue, and danger, the gilded world of Aurea will grip you from the very first page. Again, I don't know. I've heard really good things. I'm curious. I'm gonna read it. Another one I got in the fantasy romance genre is Flames of Chaos by Amelia Hutchins. This is book 1 in the Legacy of the Nine Realms series. Looks like this. It had a different cover, and I kind of liked that one better, but because they're doing reprints of all the covers, I might as well stick with this one. Originally I was going to try to find it, but it's hard to find. And pretty much all I know about this is that it follows a witch from the Hecate bloodline and a fallen angel, I believe, who like took over the human realm, and she was gone and she comes back and she's trying to take power from him. And so it's kind of like a enemies to lovers type situation, but also like the fate of the world is in the balance. And again, I've heard pretty good things about this and I was curious, so I grabbed it. Another fantasy romance, which I'm not sure if this is technically fantasy romance or if this is just kind of like a fantasy-ish, a like urban fantasy-ish romance. I'm not completely sure now that I've looked into it a little bit more, and that is Hooked by Emily McIntyre. And this is a Never After novel. That's the series, and she does like all of these different characters, and I don't even know if it's a retelling because on this like author's note page before you even get into the book, it says Hook is a dark contemporary romance. It is an adult fractured fairy tale. It is not fantasy or a literal retelling. So I'm kind of confused about that because I thought it was a fantasy romance, but now it's saying it's a contemporary romance, but it's based off of Hook from Peter Pan, and it's a Hook romance, and it's like a Hook and Wendy romance. So we'll see if I like this because I'm not a big contemporary novel person, but maybe I will like this. I am a little curious about it. We'll see how that goes. On the back, once upon a time there was a little boy, and he was full of laughter and joy, until one day something changed and stripped his innocence away. And he becomes a villain and then runs into this girl, and it's a Hook and Wendy romance. Apparently it's contemporary, I don't know. I'm curious about it, I will read it. I think Peter Pan retellings is something that's really fun, especially if they're adult, and I love Hook. Like, what's it? Once Upon a Time, that show, Hook. I loved him. Okay, and now a couple of historical romances I got, because you know that I'm on that kick now thanks to Evie Dunmore, and probably will just slowly collect a bunch of books like that. The first one is The Siren of Sussex by Mimi Matthews. This is another series that's coming out kind of in the same vein of like feminist historical romance, and this is the first one, and the second one comes out this year, I believe, and it's kind of all these fun little stories, but I think they all involve horses, which is kind of fun. She is a blue stocking, which is just kind of a commoner that works for your money, and she knows that her value on the marriage market is very low, but she doesn't care and just kind of rides her horse and does her thing. And because she excels at horseback riding, it kind of gives her a little bit of a standing. And she meets Ahmed, who is a talented tailor who makes women feel beautiful and is kind of facing some prejudice because of his Indian background. And they come together, I'm sure, and it sounds great. And Evie Dunmore blurbed it, and I think it sounds fun, and I like these now apparently, so I got another one. Another one I got was because I have the first one in this series, and that is The Runaway Duchess by Joanna Lowell. I don't actually know, I don't actually know what this series is called. Okay, I'm not sure this series has a title, but basically the first one was The Duke Undone, and then this one is The Runaway Duchess, and the covers on these are just so freaking pretty. And the main female protagonist in this story is about to be married off to a duke, and she hates him, really doesn't want to be in this situation, so she runs away from her wedding. And so as she's running away, she goes to the train station and she runs into this man who mistakes her for this really famous botanist that he's supposed to be meeting to work with, and she says, yep, that's who I am, so that he would take her with him. And then as they're working, I'm sure the truth comes out and romance ensues, and so it sounds fun, and it's about botany, which is awesome. So I think this is going to be a pretty unique and fun read. Back to the fantasy romance genre. I've heard people really rave about this series as well, and I found the first three, I want to say for like 20 bucks, which is, again, they're like 20 bucks a piece. So I went ahead and grabbed them while I had the chance, and that is the Savage Lands series by Stacey Marie Brown, and they're like brand spanking new. And this is book one in the Savage Lands series. And I know that it's basically set in a world where Earth and the other world have collided, and this is after the Fae Wars, so it's kind of like a dystopian after this magical war happened. And it's set in Budapest, so it's set in Eastern Europe after these Fae Wars happened in modern day, so it's kind of urban fantasy, kind of dystopian. Sounds like pretty intriguing. And the main character does something and is sentenced to go to the House of Death, where you go in but you don't come out. She of course meets, I guess, the love interest, and then it goes from there. I don't really know, but it sounds really interesting, and I'm curious to be able to get to this at some point. So this is book one. And like I said, all three of these books came in the bundle, so I also grabbed book two, which is Wildlands. It looks like this. The covers are really pretty on these, I gotta say. And book three, which is Deadlands. Love this cover, so cool. I don't remember how many of these are out so far, but I think the fourth one came out this year, if not the next one. But yeah, so I have these and we'll be able to get to them at some point. The next one I got is The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. I got this, we have the Broken Earth trilogy, but when I had bought the Broken Earth trilogy for John, we had the first two in the US editions and the third one in the UK edition, and it bothered me, so I finally got the US edition really cheaply secondhand so that I could have them all match and be the same height, because it drives me nuts. And so I grabbed this, and I'll be able to sell the UK edition soon. And I don't know a lot about the fifth season, but I know you're in a world that's kind of, I think it's a little bit dystopian, but it's definitely fantasy, and if you have magic to control, there's like, the earth is plagued with like all of these earthquakes, and some people have magic to control them. However, if you show that you have magic, you are like killed on sight, and so there's people that are like running for their lives, and that's kind of all I know about it, but I have this now. Okay, this next trilogy I could have maybe cried when I got these, because I had pretty much given up hope that I would ever be able to attain these copies of these editions of these books, and thought, there's no way, I'm never going to be able to afford them, I'm never going to pay that much money for them, there's just no way, it's never going to happen, just let it go and move on with your life. And then I found them for an insanely good price, and I bought them, and I can't believe they're in my hands right now, and I can't wait to put them on my shelves, and that is the Fairy Loot Red Rising trilogy. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have it in my hands. This is Red Rising, And on the back it says, I would have lived in peace, but my enemies brought me war, which is like my favorite quote from that series. Oh, it's just so beautiful. I love it so much. If you don't know what Red Rising is, what are you doing? Red Rising is basically about these people that are terraforming Mars so that it can be inhabited by humanity, but they find out later that people have been living in space for decades and they're just being treated as slaves and kept in the dark. The main character, Darrow, goes undercover to infiltrate the academy and bring the society down from the inside. So this is the first one. And then we have Golden Sun. Also beautiful. Oh. Now I am their sword and I do not forgive. I do not forget. Oh, they're so beautiful. My favorite styles is Morning Star. Oh, it's so beautiful. If this is the end, I will rage towards it. Oh, they're so stunning. And then when you put them all together, the spines make up the side. Oh, it's so stunning. Okay, enough of me gushing over those. The next one I got in a book box, so I will not get into this at all, but that is The Longing of Lone Wolves by Lana Pekarchek. This is the first book in the Fae Guardians series, but it's also the first book in the Season of the Wolf. There's different Fae shifters, and this is the wolf ones, and there's 3 books of that, and then there's 3 books of the vampires, and then I think there's 3 books of the elves. So this is the first one of that. The next book was one that I've been curious about for years. It's been on my wish list on Amazon for a long time. I just never pulled the trigger, and then I found it for a really good used price, and that is Charlie Travesty by Jesse Elliott and KJ Sutton. This is 4 little novellas of the same story and world and all of that in a bind-up called Charlie's Travesty Book 1. So it came out as A Whisper in the Dark, A Light in the Dark, A Memory in the Flame, and A Sacrifice in the Smoke. And then this is all 4 of those little novellas in one, and this completes book 1. So it's kind of complicated, but this is the Charlie Travesty series. And I've heard good things about this, but all I know about it is that, I don't remember which birthday it is, but it's like your 21st birthday or something, or your 16th birthday, something like that, is when you awaken. And so these vampires, oh, it's about vampires. The vampires will go to sleep, and when they awaken, their eyes will be a different color, and that color determines what you do in that society. And then this particular character falls asleep and her eyes change a color that hasn't happened before, or at least hasn't happened in a lot of years. And the story kind of goes from there, and that's all I truly know about it, but it sounded really interesting, and obviously I had it on my radar and wish list for a while, and so I was glad to finally get a copy. The next ones I got for a similar reason was because it was for a good price as a set, was The Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. And this is a Hades and Persephone fantasy romance. I guess urban fantasy romance, kind of. So it's similar to like Lore Olympus, but Lore Olympus is better. And I just really was curious about this series. I wanted to read some Hades and Persephone retellings, and so I went ahead and grabbed this. As well as A Touch of Ruin, which is book 2, and A Touch of Malice, which is book 3. And then the next ones I bought were also 2 in a series, and they are by Amanda Foody, and that is Ace of Shades. And this is actually the arc of Ace of Shades, because in a bundle you could buy the second one and you got the arc for free. And I thought that was a great deal, so I went ahead and got that one too, and that is King of Fools. So this is book 1 and 2 in a series, book 1 and 2 in the Shadow Game series. And because I loved all of this villains so much, I've been wanting to look into more of Amanda Foody's writing, and this was another series I've heard pretty good things about, and so I went ahead and grabbed these. And I actually don't know much about it. I know it's about like casino type things and kind of dark fantasy, dark urban fantasy. And on this little on the back of this, it says, "Welcome to the City of Sin, where casino families reign, gangs infest the streets, and secrets hide in every shadow." And it sounds like really dark casino games, and it just sounds fun. Oh, and on the front it says, "Take a card and stake your soul. Survival is your only goal. Surrender to the vice within. Bet your life. Hope you win." And it just sounds sinister and fun. And so I have book 2 when I finish book 1. And I really like Amanda Foody, I think, so I'm excited to get to these. The next one I got, partially because it is being picked up by a publisher and is not self-published anymore, and I wanted to get the self-published version before you couldn't get it anymore, is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, and it looks like this, and that's all I really know about it. I also know that people have said really good things about this, and it's a pretty short little novella. So yeah, I have this. The next one I got, because it's going to be the next book I have to read after this other book, secondhand, good price, is A Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the first This is the first book in the Flesh and Fire series, which is after the first 3 of the From Blood and Ash series. So after you read The Crown of Gilded Bones, you're supposed to read A Shadow in the Ember before you move on in the Kingdom of Ash series. And so I got this, secondhand cheaply so that I could move on. And I really like floppy paperbacks, so I prefer reading them like this anyway. So I went ahead and grabbed this, and I must say that the covers on these books are really pretty. Okay, the next few books I bought are also in a series, and I kind of recently learned about these and am obsessed and can't wait to read them. And that is the Sun Eater books, and book 1 is The Empire of Silence by Christopher Ruocchio. And first off, this cover's stunning, and apparently these hardcovers are like impossible to find because there's only like 5,000 made, and I found one for so cheap, and I'm so pumped. And this is book 1 in the Sun Eater series. I believe the 5th one is coming out this year. And from what I know about this is that it's a sci-fi fantasy hybrid, and the author himself pitched this as, what if Anakin turning into Darth Vader was the right choice? What? Have you heard of a better book for me? That's pretty much all I know about it, and that's all I needed to know, and I was so pumped about it that I grabbed it and then wanted the rest of the series because if I love it as much as I think I'm going to blow through it. And it sounds so good. So I have this one, which is book 1. And then I went ahead and grabbed book 2, The Howling Dark. And just for good measure, I also got book 3, Demon in White. Covers are also pretty cool too. I don't like this cover as much as the other two, but you know. Alright everyone, well that is it for today's book haul. I have stacks and stacks of books in front of me that I need to reorganize all my shelves on again, so good times. Let me know which of these books you're most excited about reading or would like to hear my opinions on, or just caught your attention. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.